Oban Elliott takes on Seokhyeon Ko this Saturday at UFC Fight Night Baku, Azerbaijan. And this is a good fight. It's somewhat a short notice fight put together over the last 2 weeks. You know, these guys are supposed to fight back on May 31st. Different opponents. Seokhyeon Ko was supposed to fight Billy Ray Goff. Oban Elliott was supposed to fight Ramiz Brahimaj. They both had visa issues, I think, and couldn't make it to the event. So Billy Ray Goff and Ramiz Brahimaj fought each other. So putting this one together 2 weeks later, both these guys have had, full training camps. Not necessarily against each other, though, so they haven't been able to really strategize or game plan for each other than, the last 2 weeks since this fight got put together. So curious to see how this one plays out. Seokhyeon Ko making his UFC debut, so not the best circumstances. Initially thought he was going to be in America fighting this one guy. Now he's, 2 weeks later fighting a completely different opponent in a completely different country. But coming off of a unanimous decision win on Dana White's Contender Series. Before that, had 3 wins by stoppage. So on a 4-fight winning streak, coming in with a little bit of momentum. He is 31 years old, 5'10", with a 71-inch reach, 11-2 in his career. His 2 losses have come by KO on the regional scene to not the best competition. But they call him the Korean Tyson just because, he's got a really aggressive striking style and a lot of KO power. Really good forward pressure, kind of keeps his chin high at times, which I don't like to see considering he is, susceptible to getting knocked out. But has a really good 1-2 with the left hand, very composed. Doesn't really throw kicks, though. He's more of a boxer, just kind of throwing those hands. He is a Sambo world champion, so has the grappling threat, has really explosive takedowns, good hip tosses, good ground and pound. So overall, pretty aggressive, looking for the finish, and pretty well-rounded. He doesn't have a lot of submissions. It looks like a lot of his finishes are on the ground, just by ground and pound, but does have that grappling threat, that wrestling ability to get fights to the ground or keep it on the feet if he wants to. He was eating shots from Igor Cavalcanti on the Dana White's Contender Series, so it seems like his chin is kind of holding up. But again, concerning that he was KO'd twice on the regional scene by not the best competition. So, and he hasn't fought the best competition ever. You look at his record, Igor Cavalcanti was 9-0 in Dana White's Contender Series in his last fight, but even Igor hasn't fought really that great a competition, so I don't know how good of a win that was. The fight before that guy was 7-7, and then 28-27, 5-4, lost to a guy who was 11-4, who's now 11-8, was knocked out in the first 65 seconds of that fight. So 6-1, 3-3, 3-2. Just hasn't really been tested the way that Oban Elliott has been tested. Oban Elliott, he is 27, 6 foot with a 72-inch reach, and he's 12-2. So he's going to be 3 or 4 years younger, 2 inches taller, have a 1-inch reach advantage. And Oban Elliott is, he's very good. He's undefeated in the UFC. He is on a 3-fight winning streak in the UFC, not including his win on Dana White's Contender Series. Was on a 4-fight winning streak in Cage Warriors before that, so hasn't lost since December of 2021. So a lot of momentum coming into this one. And he's just got great front kicks, a really beautiful jab that he fights behind, kind of stabs the front teep kicks into the midsection to kind of keep his range and maintain his distance if guys are pressuring him, like Basil Hafez. He's throwing it out there to keep guys at bay, and really kind of just gets respect and manages the fight kind of how he sees fit, and doesn't really let anybody get off on him or really push him around. Does a good job at fighting in his own range and just kind of dictating the pace that he wants to fight at. He's just a crafty striker on the feet. He's very technical, has really good counters, sneaky shots up close and in the clinch. He'll land shots on guys, when he thinks they're going to clinch, or that they think that he might be cutting an angle to get away. He's throwing sneaky hooks at guys, and just doesn't allow guys to lead. He's the one leading the dance, and has guys just constantly having to react to him and kind of be the second one to go and not really get off first. In terms of his grappling, he has good takedown defense. His last 2 fights against Basil Hafez and Preston Parsons, he did a good job of defending those takedowns to win those fights. Was defending takedowns from Preston Parsons, who's a really good grappler, really good wrestler. And he is a jiu-jitsu brown belt with 3 submission wins, so he can end the fight on the ground, end the fight on the feet. Very well-rounded, kind of the complete package. Not even entering his prime yet, so still has a lot of time to improve. Has good cardio, not a real concern there. He has been KO'd twice. One of them was by Michael Figlak, who I think is underrated. The other one was a Madaris Flaminas, who I've never heard of. So kind of concerning that he's been knocked out on the regional scene. But again, it's Cage Warriors, which is a really good promotion. They got a lot of really good talent, and hasn't been hurt or KO'd or lost since that loss back in December of 2021. So, and in the UFC, hasn't really been rocked or hurt that I've seen. You know, his chin's been holding up. So he fights very smart on the feet, doesn't really rush anything. He's patient, waits for his opponent to kind of get frustrated and rush in, and that's when he can counter and do a lot of damage like we saw in the Basil Hafez fight. I'm going to have to go with Oban Elliott in this one. I think Oban Elliott is a very good prospect in the UFC, just from what I've seen. And again, he hasn't fought the best competition. I think he's fought better competition than Seokhyeon Ko. Preston Parsons, I think, is very good. Basil Hafez is okay, but I just don't think he has a signature win, and I don't think this is going to be necessarily a signature win either. But I do think he gets this one done. I think he's the better striker. I think he'll be able to deal with the forward pressure that Seokhyeon Ko has, be able to fight off the back foot, kind of keep him off of him. I trust his takedown defense to keep him out of trouble if Ko wants to use his Sambo background, and I think Oban Elliott can hurt him on the feet. You know, he does come in kind of wild at times, keeps his chin high. I think he relies on getting a lot of respect with his punching power and not necessarily using technique. I think Oban Elliott has more technique. I think he's got more experience. He's the younger guy. I think he's the more athletic guy. Maybe you could give the power advantage to Ko, but I think Oban Elliott, the way that he places his shots and sets guys up and times it, you know, I value that, and I think you can get more KOs with that than kind of Ko's approach. And I don't trust Ko yet. You know, I just haven't seen him fighting the best guys. And again, you could say this about both guys getting KO'd by guys who aren't the best on the regional scene, but Oban Elliott, he's been in the better promotions. Cage Warriors, he's been in the UFC longer, hasn't lost in the UFC yet. I think he's the overall better fighter here. I think he gets it done, and I think, yeah, he's a pretty sizable favorite, minus 395 over Seokhyeon Ko. You know, Seokhyeon Ko, he could get his takedowns, he could get some respect on the feet and get it going there. Like, he's not an absolute slouch in there, but I just think Oban Elliott's a step above him in terms of where they're at in their careers, and Oban Elliott's only going to be getting better. 27 years old. Sky's the limit for this guy. So I'm going to go with Oban Elliott to get this one done. I think he can get the KO against Seokhyeon Ko, but if not, I think he'll get a decision. Thanks.